Hello art students. Today we are going to do a beautiful picture with flowers and lots of movement and exaggerated color. It is inspired by the Expressionism art movement, and I'm going to read you this definition. Expressionism is a 20th century art movement that originated in Northern Europe and emphasizes intense personal expression. It is characterized by distorted forms, exaggerated lines, and strong colors to convey the artist's subjective perspective and inner turmoil. So maybe you are feeling happy, maybe you're feeling sad, whatever colors and direction of lines that you select will be put on paper, and then it will represent that expression of how you feel. One artist that I really love that does expressionism is Franz Marc. And another artist that you've probably seen his work and you didn't even realize you knew who it was, and that is the artist that painted the Scream. So that's a very famous picture, and obviously he has expressed some colors that show that that person is probably experiencing some anxiety and some pain as well. He is famous for lots of different works, but I would say that's his most famous, and it is by Edvard Munch. So you can look up either one of those artists and research them a little on your own. Everybody should have a paper that has some lines already on it. And as usual, I'm going to talk about how to draw those lines so that you know and can practice on your own. So we're going to watch and not follow along yet. I'm just showing you how to start these out. So the first thing that you would do is draw a curved line. It looks like a smile that has been stretched out to look more like a smirk. And then you are going to draw a curved line on the left and a curved line on the right, and let the two meet in the middle. You can see how big this is. So that's how you make the starter line shape that we've got on your paper. Now everybody will have your pencil and follow along. Try not to work ahead. Remember to take your time. Being a good artist is about being a good listener and good craftsmanship, so you're not rushing the process. If you need help, please raise your hand and let your facilitator know that, or your classroom teacher. And also the facilitator will probably stop the video at certain times to make sure everybody is on track. So the first thing that I want everybody to do is draw a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Art is not about being perfect. To the left of that, you're going to draw another circle. And I'm drawing lightly so that if I make a mistake, I can erase and correct that. Now I'm going to draw a letter U, and look, I'm letting my letter U look like it's going behind these two items. That is called layering. It makes things look more three-dimensional. So you can see I started my U, I picked it up again. So this U looks like it's sitting behind those two items. On top, I'm going to draw what looks like a pancake, and that's going to make my piece look a little more three-dimensional. To make these look more like flowers, I'm going to draw a spiral in each one. So I'm going to put my pencil down, and I'm going to slowly make a spiral. And I'm going to do that in each one. I'm going to put my pencil down, and I'm going to slowly make a spiral. And I'll do the same on top. Now, to the right, I want to add some more flowers. I'm going to put 5 flowers. It's always good to have an odd number of items in your artwork. I want these to spill over a little, so I'm going to keep that in mind as I work. I'm going to put a circle here. Notice the size of the circle. And then I'm going to space one out so that it's spilling over, and I'm going to do it on this side. And now what I'm going to do is go back in and put a petal on each leaf. So 1 petal, 2 petals, 3 petals, 4 petals, 5 petals, 6 petals. You can have 7, you can have 8. I would try and make them big. We're going to have some overlapping that happens here. That means when one thing sits on top of the other. So you'll start your petal and it will disappear behind that one. Same thing, you'll start your petal and it will disappear behind that one. Start your petal. It may or may not disappear behind this one. And then remember, it's always good if something does go off of your paper. So if you get to the top and run out of room, that's actually not a bad thing. Now we want to make sure that it looks like all of those are going into our water pots. I'm going to draw a straight, or it can be curved, line coming down into my pot. That is not how we want to leave it because we know stems are going to be more three-dimensional. So I'm going to go back in and draw another line on the other side. And some can be, you know, longer, skinnier, fatter, however you want to do it. So it looks like they're going into the vase. Now at the bottom, we want to put a horizon line. I'm going to do a curved line instead of a straight line. Remember, horizon just means where the top meets the bottom. So I'm going to do a curved line coming in from this side and on the other. And now I want to, a lot of times you'll see fruit in some of these paintings that we're discussing, especially on Franz Marc. I've seen some on his. So I'm going to draw a circle. And I'm going to let it go off the paper. I'm also going to go ahead and erase this line because I want it setting on top of that. And then I'm going to draw a lemon. So all that a lemon is it's a circle. So I'm going to draw another circle, but the tips are more rounded. So I'm going to go back in and add these rounded tips. And then I will erase what I don't need. I could also go ahead and outline and then erase, but I'm just going to go ahead and erase some of that. So in the background, I want to mix it up just a little bit. So on this side, and I'm going to encourage you to start out the same way. You can play with your color choices and if you wanted to do some designs on the cloth at the bottom, but let's start out the top the same. So basically what I'm going to do is do a zigzag line that goes all the way to the bottom. So a zigzag line that goes, and see, it's getting out of the way a little bit. It's okay. I'm not worried about it. Art doesn't have to be perfect. So I've got two lines that way, and then on the other side, I'm going to draw some lines going in this direction. On the table, you can do whatever you want to do. I just did some squiggly lines like this. So it's really whatever you want to do. Now, after you get finished with that, what I want you to do is get a Expo marker if you've got one, or a black crayon, whichever you prefer. And I want you to outline these lines. So as I'm outlining, you should be outlining, and I'm still going to talk, so please have your listening ears on. A lot of times the suggestions that I make to you as far as what to use as materials, I try and pick things that are readily available that you, your parents, or your teachers would have available in the classroom. I also choose things on purpose. So if you do have these materials that you can work with to outline, they work better than, say, a Crayola marker. If I were to outline all of this with a Crayola marker, and we're going to add some water to our pictures, that Crayola marker would bleed. And for the outline purposes, I don't want that. So that's why I'm suggesting either an Expo marker or a black crayon. Remember, art is about craftsmanship, so you definitely want to take your time as you are outlining these pictures. You can turn your paper if you need to. So everybody's taking their time. Art day, we know it's a special day. You don't want to rush the process, so you're taking your time and working hard. If you want, you can go in and you can erase areas that you feel like some pencil marks were on, and go ahead and get that out of the way. So the first thing we're going to do is color with some crayons, but we're not going to fill everything in. So you're going to go in, and let's say that you wanted to do some blues and greens on your vase. You're going to go in and you're just going to color like this. So we're just doing accent colors. So a lot of times people think that blue represents sadness. So if you're feeling kind of sad, you may have more blues and purples and darker colors in your picture. If you're feeling more vibrant, then you'll have brighter colors. And you may just have a little of everything. On my lemons, I'm going to use some yellow and some orange, but I'm not filling in completely. So you can see I'm just kind of brushing some of that color on there. So you can pick whatever colors you want to color your pictures, and we're just mixing some different colors, but we're not filling everything in. Do remember, with everything that we do, I always like for you to make sure you're mixing your colors. Alright, you could do a pattern down here or not. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to do a pattern for this one because I want to make it a little different than the first one that I did. So again, for now, you've got kind of this just loose application of colors on your paper, and you're purposely not filling it all in. So you're purposely not filling it all in. You can do your flowers, whatever colors you want. I'm going to try and color in the direction that these lines are going. I think I'll make this one a little different and this one a little different. And then go over here and I'll color these in, whatever color I want to do these. And you can again see, did not fill it in all the way. So after you get done with that, we're going to open our watercolor sets. And you're going to take your water. You can see how I do this. I've got my water over here, my brushes. And I am going to dab a little thing of water on each color. Hair stuck in that. Okay, and that will make them kind of ready to go for you. I would steer clear of using too much black. If you get carried away with that, it will not look so good. Alright, so now I'm going to pick what colors I want for my background. I'm going to do yellow, so you can see this is watercolor, so I'm going to grab that and I'm just going to paint the whole thing in with watercolor. I'm going to go from one side to the other. If I need more water, you'll be able to tell that you need some more, and you can just add some on there. But I'm painting all of the background in with that color. And I'm going to do some yellow and orange on my little fruit pieces down here, my lemons. You can see that the wax crayon is resisting the water. I'm going to grab a little orange. That, when I touched it, you could tell that it didn't activate, so I know it needs a little more water. So I'll put that on there and lay that down. On my vase, that should have blues and greens, so I'm going to grab some blue, because that's the colors we used, right? So I'm grabbing some blue, and again, you can see how when it hits the crayons, it resists. I'm going to grab some green and put on there. So some cool textural elements happening on there. And I'm going to just continue to do the same thing. If I got a red or a pink, I'm going to take some red and go in, and it should, the pink that I put with crayon will resist. And so you'll have those nice textural elements on those flowers. If you use multiple colors, then you can mix multiple colors in there with it. So I had red and orange, or I'm sorry, orange and yellow, I think. So I will combine some of those colors. And you can see, like, I'm kind of lifting my brush in some spots. I really want to make sure that those crayon colors are still showing through. And like this one, I'm going to have more yellow. Oops, grab me some green. I want to extend the green down on my stems, and if I like how that looks, or I want to say a more bold blue, then I can grab some of that blue, not use as much water, and it's going to be more concentrated. Remember, this is Expressionism, so we should have some pretty bold areas of color on your piece. If you want to add any like dots or designs, you know, you could do that. You could grab some paint that was watery, and you can go in and you could even overlap like this and crisscross over and do some different things like that. You could add dots. You could go over the black lines that we've got and add another splash of color. You can repeat those lines. So you can get pretty out there with it. I think I'm going to take some red and just for the heck of it, do some little dabs here in the background. I think that would look cool. So after you finish doing all of the watercolor, you can dry this with a hair dryer, or maybe you set it aside and you go out for recess or lunch and you come back and let it air dry, or you know, this is going to be your finish up for the next day. But after it's completely dry, you can go back in with marker and you can add some texture and designs with marker. So this is still pretty wet, but I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate so you can see what this would look like. So you can go in with markers. You can just add like little zigzag lines or broken lines that replicate the shape that you started out with. Let me demonstrate on this other one that's finished. I think it'll be easier for you to see. So you can see where I've gone back in with marker and crayon, and I've added different colors and textures on the flowers. So if I wanted to, I could go in with red and I could apply some of that on here. So you can see I'm not trying to fill the whole thing in or take away from what's there by any means, but I'm just adding some little accent colors. You can see how that green looks like going in on top of this. So you can see it lays a little different, right, than if this didn't have anything on it at all. But it makes it really fun and texturized. So you can go back in after it dries, and you can do stuff like that with the markers, and you can also go back in with crayon. So if I wanted to, if I'm like, oh, I really think this would look nice with some red, I'm going to go in and I'll color and press really hard, and that red laying on top of it's going to make it like this really bright fuchsia color. So you can play with crayon on top of all of this too. So you're wanting to make it layer. You're not trying to cover anything up. You're just putting color in different places and experimenting. You know, what does that look like when I lay other colors on top? So this is the finished flower example. And then you can see this one still needs the marker and the crayon as the last step. So you can see a difference, you know, between the two. I would suggest to you teachers to have the finished example on the screen when we cut the video off frozen, so students can look back and forth and reference and get some ideas. Remember, art is not about being perfect, and you don't want it to be the same as your neighbor. It would be a super boring world if every art show that you went to, everything looked the same, or look around you if everybody looked the same. That would be so boring. So make sure that you feel comfortable in expressing yourself, right? I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson on Expressionism. Remember to check out some of the artist work that I told you about, and I hope that you all have a wonderful and a blessed day. We will see you the next time.